Is Hughie Fury just another Tyson clone? I'm Teekosey, and this is With Just 15 Defeats. Teekosey back once again for another round of With Just 15 Defeats. Third video of the week after the Joseph Parker Takam preview and the discussion on Dominic Breazeale. So the third video of the week is all about Hughie Fury and his latest matchup this weekend against Fred Kassi live in London at the Copper Box. Now, I want to try and cover quite a lot of content today, but I don't want to waffle too much. But I want to discuss Hughie Fury and where he is. Okay, I want to discuss whether he's a Tyson clone, whether his career is stalling, can he be a world champion, and whether his next opponent is just another bum. Okay, so we're gonna discuss this. Then we're going to talk about a couple of other fights in the heavyweight division that are happening this week that you might want to keep your eye on. Okay? So, Hughie Fury. Last week I was looking for the video of the Hughie Fury-Dominic Gwynn matchup that happened a couple of weeks ago. It was live in the UK and it was not televised because of the Nick Blackwell injury that made it go on, and it almost got postponed. But the fight went ahead. It just wasn't televised and doesn't seem to be any content online, which is a bit disappointing. But in some of the videos that I was watching, I found someone that came out and just said that Hughie Fury is a big fat Tyson clone, and it got me thinking: is that the case? And I just don't. But I don't believe that to be the case. I think there is some similarities, but they are slightly different now. As much as I love Tyson, I've been a big backer of his since back in the day when he was fighting McDermott. He is limited from a technical perspective. He can be inaccurate, be sloppy, but he has this crazy combination of being unpredictable and supreme confidence that is why he's there, why he is the man, right? Hughie Fury is completely different. His skill set is more refined. He's better technical, he's more accurate, he's got better range of shots, and he's got decent movement, but like Tyson, zero power. So I don't think the same, despite they're obviously trained by the same guy. They are quite different. They're quite different, and they fight slightly differently. Okay, so my next point is Hughie Fury's career stalling? Again, I don't think he is. I've seen a lot of comments where people are complaining about Hughie Fury, and I think it's probably the Anthony Joshua effect. The fact that Anthony Joshua has picked up this strap, and it's clouding the judgment of many people's minds. Now, what you've got to appreciate that Hughie Fury, he's only 3 years into his career as a pro. He's 19-0, and if you compare that to some of the other guys, Tyson Fury was 17-0, and really he'd only had one notable fight against Chisora, the first Chisora fight. He had picked up the English strap and the Commonwealth strap, I believe. Anthony Joshua, we know he's 3 years into his career and he's already the champ, but he's got this strap, probably shouldn't be in that position, so that's a bit of an anomaly. David Haye was 15-1. He'd lost that fight at cruiserweight. Obviously, his career for the first 3 years was cruiserweight. but he had picked up an English strap and a Euro. But his only notable fight was a defeat. And just for comparison purposes, Deontay Wilder in 3 years was 20-0. But as we know, even until a couple of years ago, he'd fought nobody. So I don't believe that he is stalling. As I say, Hughie has not picked up any straps. It's been an interesting journey how they've been matching him. Okay, but it's possible that they could have put him in for some form of strap. And I was just looking at who's got kind of the straps that he could have picked up. The English belt has not been fought for 3 years since John McDermott won it. So it's possible they could line up some British matchup against someone who's half decent. Even maybe a David Price fight, that might be interesting, or someone that's just maybe slightly lower, just to give him a strap, just for something. You've also got the British that's held by AJ. When's he going to defend that? It's unlikely that he's ever going to defend that. Commonwealth also held by AJ. He's had that for 2 fights. And then you've got the European title. The European title is held by Robert Helenius. I think it's actually vacant now. So there's potential for him to pick up some straps. So I wonder whether they might start thinking about that. Because it would be good for him to get a strap. Now, what you need to appreciate is he's only 21 years old. That's the difference. Like, AJ is 26, so he's 3 years in, but he is 26. AJ's also had 5 years worth of amateur experience. Now, as we know, Hughie Fury turned professional at the age of 18, so he does not have a lot of amateur experience as an adult. He's got a little bit of junior experience, and they've obviously turned him pro. Like a lot of the Fury clan, they turned pro relatively early. Tyson Fury had a couple of years. He started making waves on the amateur scene before turning pro, but he turned pro relatively young. But they've turned Hughie Fury pro really early, and there was talk about him becoming the youngest heavyweight champion in the world. It's unlikely to happen. And he's really learning on the job. So I haven't really got a problem with these sort of opponents, to be honest. It doesn't really bother me. But obviously we need to see some form of progression. And this is in the form of Fred Kassi. Now, is Fred Kassi another bum? Is he a decent opponent? Is he a credible opponent? My initial reaction is yes. It's a decent, credible opponent for this point in his career. Now, Fred Kassi is only 6 foot, so he's a relatively small opponent, and he's got a record of 18-4-1. So, not fantastic. And throughout the majority of his career, like most guys out there, he hasn't fought anyone of any note until relatively recently. And in his last 3 fights, Fred Kassi has fought some interesting opponents. Now, 3 fights ago, he fought Amir Mansour. Okay, and similar sort of sized guys, but Fred Kassi was knocked out unconscious. It's a vicious, a spiteful KO. It's a life-changing knockout. It's the sort of knockout that will change a man. Seriously, check it out. I'll put a link in the description so you can check it out. But it is one of those knockouts you see where you think, crikey, that guy's never ever going to be the same ever again, because it was 100% out cold, right? And but what makes it interesting is that in his next fight, he almost stepped up again and he fought Areola. Now, we all know Areola. He's a tough guy. He's a bit tubby, but he's got good power. He's been nearly at the top. He's fought for titles. He's done okay, but he's just not good enough, right? And Kassi went the full distance, right? He went the full distance with this guy, right? And some people, they're saying that Kassi should have won that. Got robbed on a decision. Now, then the last fight that Kassi had was against Dominic Brazil. Now, everyone's starting to know about Dominic Brazil, and if you don't, check out one of my previous videos where I discuss who he actually is. Now, who he actually is he's Anthony Joshua's next opponent. Anthony Joshua's next opponent. Now, I don't particularly rate him. A lot of people are going to have that opinion. They don't think he's that great. Now, the fight with Kassi against Dominic Brazil, it's an interesting fight because it was one of those fights where so much was pretty close, pretty tight. So, in terms of scoring it, you're going to get people that are going to swing both ways. And whilst one judge actually had all 10 rounds to Brazil, whereas a lot of people are saying, to be fair, it should have been a draw, or even Kassi should have won. So, to my point of view, Kassi won at least 4 of those rounds. He won at least 4 of those rounds. So, it was a fairly close fight. And so this guy's now in for a title fight. And Kassi gave him a good fight. He didn't get blasted out. So that's why I think that Kassi is definitely a credible opponent. Now, what is Kassi like? As I say, he's going to be smaller. There's going to be a massive size differential between Fury and Kassi. But I think he's a tough guy. Like, if you forget about that KO against Mansour, he's a tough guy. He likes to get in close. He likes to swing. But he has zero power. A bit like Hughie Fury. He's not going to be able to. There isn't going to be a knockout in this fight. Okay, he's going to try. He's quite slow and cumbersome, and he's going to plod along. He's going to try and get in close, and he's going to stick out the jab. He's going to try and box. So it's going to be a learning fight for Hughie Fury. My prediction is it's going to go to full 10, and Hughie's probably going to win. He's probably going to win at least 8 rounds. I would have thought. But it's going to be a good learning fight. It's going to see whether he can dispatch him. It will be interesting to see whether he can do it, whether he can stop this guy. Now, I looked at the odds, and Hughie Fury is 1-14 to win this. 1-14, and Kassi is 7-1. So that is a gigantic swing. They don't really give Kassi a chance at all. So, I just want to ask you if you got this far to click in the right hand corner and take part in the poll on this matchup, whether you think that Kassi has a chance. Does he have a chance, or is this going to be another easy night's work for Hughie Fury? Okay, so that's what I think about this fight, and as I say, I think he's a relatively credible opponent. Now, what's going to happen? Hughie Fury will probably knock him out inside 20 seconds. But I think he's a relatively decent opponent. I can't see, as Hughie Fury moves forward, I can't see him knocking out many people that have a decent level. I think he's going to be one of these guys that goes the distance in majority of his matchup. So it's going to be all about how he can outbox his opponent. And as I say, he has got a bit more skill than Tyson, so that might put him in good stead. And if he continues to progress through with okay fights in the next 2 years, he may be approaching that world level. Now, as I said at the beginning of this video, there's another couple of fights which might be worth keeping an eye out to see what the results are, because the two guys that might be able to have a say on the fringe world level and UK domestic level. Now, first of all, I'm going to talk about Ian Lewison. Now, he hasn't fought for a couple of years. I remember seeing him a couple of years ago, and he looked like he could be a bit of an exciting guy. He got knocked out of the UK prize fighter 1 year in the first round against someone. I can't even think who it was now, but no one to get excited about. But I suppose you got to appreciate that's a three-round format, and anyone can get knocked out can lose over 3 rounds. But for some reason, he hasn't fought for some time. I don't quite know why. And I was doing a little bit of research about a month or so ago when I was trying to work out the entire scene, the entire heavyweight scene, and I was looking at who's there, who's coming through, and I remembered about Ian Lewison. I remember thinking that on the UK scene he might be able to have a say. Well, I googled him. I saw he hasn't fought for a few times, and I couldn't really find anything about him. I think I saw some video where he was calling someone out, and they weren't really that interested. And I found his Twitter page, and his Twitter page was just full of him retweeting pictures of MILFs. So you can that is what it is. So I don't know, but he's got a fight this weekend. It's against no one. But if he was to win it, it might kind of Might put him back in the UK scene to start, kind of almost like start his career. But anyway, that's him. Forget about him. We've also got Gerald Washington versus Eddie Chambers. Now, this is actually an interesting matchup, and it's definitely one to look out for if you can watch it, or you can watch it next week, just to see what happens in it, because Gerald Washington is another undefeated American. He's a massive guy, fantastic physique. And as we've seen in the last couple of months, people like Charles Martin and Dominic Brazil, these sort of guys, these fringe level undefeated guys, are getting opportunities now. So Washington could be that next guy at the back end of this year. You just never know, getting ranked and whatever. But he seems like he's relatively good. He looks like he's got relatively good power, but he's an incredibly laid back guy. He's a cool character. And he likes to take his time. So we'll have to see how he competes up against Fast Eddie Chambers. Obviously, Eddie Chambers is a bit of a veteran. He's been around the block. He's fought for the titles. I'm pretty sure, if I remember rightly, Eddie Chambers got knocked out by a jab from Klitschko, which was a bit of a fantastic... If I'm remembering that correctly. If you got this far, remind me. Tell me if I got that right. Was he knocked out by a jab in the corner? Am I correct? Let me know if you got this far. So this is a fight to check out as well. So, as I say, thanks for watching the video. If you've got any comments on any of these fights, anything on Hughie Fury, who do you think Hughie Fury should be fighting next? Where should his career go? Is he stalling? Is he a Tyson clone? Can he be a champion? Any of these questions, leave in a comment below. Take part in my poll, please. And if you've enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. Click on the subscribe channel, and we'll see you in the next video. This has been with just 15 defeats. 15 defeats. 15 defeats. 15 defeats.